Just hours ago, Buckingham Palace confirmed an emergency meeting, directly triggered by Prince William's late-night move. No warnings, no schedule, just a sudden call that shocked royal aides and rattled the monarchy. What happened past 1 a.m.? And why is the palace treating this like a full-blown royal crisis? The midnight shock. What triggered Prince William's sudden move? Just after 1 a.m. on a quiet weekday night, Prince William made a move that instantly rattled the palace. According to multiple insiders, the call came without warning, bypassing the usual layers of royal scheduling and approval. Senior aides were reportedly caught off guard when William requested immediate contact with key advisors, refusing to wait until morning. One source described the moment bluntly. This wasn't routine. This felt urgent, personal, and deliberate. The timing alone raised alarms. Royals do not make late-night decisions unless something has shifted behind the scenes. What triggered it? Insiders point to a classified development connected to King Charles's private condition, information that allegedly reached William late that evening. While the palace has maintained a calm public stance, sources claim William was briefed on details that suggested the situation may be more serious than previously acknowledged. William was not comfortable with what he heard, one aide revealed. He felt decisions were being made too quickly, and not with him fully involved. That sense of urgency pushed him to act immediately, even if it meant breaking tradition. But health concerns are only part of the story. Several royal watchers believe the late-night move was also fueled by rising tension over Camilla's expanding role. Over the past several months, Camilla has quietly taken on responsibilities once reserved for the heir. According to insiders, William has grown increasingly uneasy about what he sees as strategic influence happening without clear boundaries. He felt boxed out, said one source. That call was William drawing a line. The midnight timing wasn't accidental. It ensured privacy, control, and speed. What truly shocked palace staff was how William acted. He did not wait for clerks, secretaries, or formal approvals. Instead, he directly contacted advisors he trusts, signaling that this was no longer a theoretical concern, but a real-time problem. One aide noted, "When protocol is skipped, it usually means someone believes time is running out." That alone fueled speculation that William fears a fast-moving scenario he may soon be forced to confront.
Adding to the tension, the call reportedly lasted over 90 minutes, stretching well past 2:30 a.m. During that time, contingency language was used, phrases rarely spoken unless the monarchy faces a serious internal shift. Though no official details were recorded, those present understood one thing clearly. William was asserting authority, not asking permission. This wasn't panic, an insider said. It was control.
As dawn approached, the impact of that single late-night decision began to spread across the palace. Phones rang, schedules shifted, and quiet instructions were issued. Whatever began at 1 a.m. had now grown into something much larger, setting the stage for what would become an emergency summons unlike any seen in recent years. Emergency summons. Palace calls crisis meeting, condensed to 200 words. By 6 a.m., just hours after Prince William's late-night move, Buckingham Palace was fully mobilized. Senior aides were urgently contacted, some receiving alerts marked priority status, a rare designation used only in serious constitutional scenarios. Clarence House, Kensington Palace, and even residences outside London were pulled into the loop. One insider described the scene as controlled panic hidden under royal formality. There was no public announcement. The crisis meeting wasn't on any official schedule. and the press was left in the dark. But behind closed doors, top legal, strategic, and communications figures from William's and the King's camps were ordered, not invited, to attend. This wasn't a discussion, it was action, said one palace source. At 5:30 a.m., unmarked vehicles entered through private gates, escorted by armed protection teams. No lights, no warning. That only happens when something serious is unfolding, a former palace driver noted. The most alarming detail? Multiple insiders confirmed the use of the phrase Royal Contingency Protocol, language only used during crises involving abdication, regency, or royal incapacity. As departments were told to clear their schedules, one question echoed through the palace. Is this the beginning of a power shift the public hasn't been told about yet? Health fears resurface. King Charles's condition behind closed doors. As whispers of emergency meetings circulate, focus has turned sharply toward King Charles's health and what's being hidden behind the palace's calm front. Though officials insist the monarch is stable, sources close to royal medical staff claim his condition has worsened in recent weeks, prompting quiet contingency planning and internal power shifts. One senior aide revealed, the public hasn't been given the full picture. Charles's health is far more delicate than they're admitting. Leaked reports suggest key responsibilities once handled solely by Charles are now silently transitioning to Queen Camilla, including high-level briefings. This shift, unacknowledged publicly, has raised concerns among royal insiders, especially Prince William, who's reportedly being excluded from critical discussions. Advisors are now questioning whether Charles can continue actively reigning into 2026. With fewer live events, longer absences, and increased use of pre-recorded statements, alarm bells are quietly ringing. William's late-night call was driven not just by strategy, but by deep concern over being shut out while key decisions unfold. Behind the palace walls, constitutional advisors are already briefing William on regency powers. A once-distant scenario is suddenly within reach, and the monarchy may be approaching a moment of historic transition. Camilla's silent power grab. Is she acting as unofficial queen? While the palace insists everything is running smoothly, insiders say Queen Camilla's role has quietly expanded far beyond public view. Over the past 6 to 8 months, royal watchers have noticed a clear shift. Camilla is no longer just supporting the king. She is stepping into spaces traditionally reserved for the heir, and doing so with very little explanation. One senior courtier put it plainly, "This isn't ceremonial help. This is operational influence." According to multiple sources, Camilla has been attending confidential briefings that would normally include Prince William as first in line to the throne. These meetings reportedly cover strategy, staffing, and long-term planning, not just daily engagements. "That's where the red flags went up," said a former advisor. "When the Queen Consort is present and the heir is not, something fundamental has shifted." For William, this wasn't just unusual, it was deeply concerning. Behind the scenes, Camilla's personal team has grown rapidly. New aides, communications specialists, and private secretaries have been added since early 2025, some with direct access to senior palace decision-makers. Insiders say this expansion happened quietly, without the usual transparency. It felt like a shadow structure forming, one source claimed. No announcements, no explanations, just movement. That kind of buildup doesn't happen without intent. William, according to those close to him, feels increasingly boxed out. He believes critical decisions about the monarchy's future are being shaped, while he's kept at arm's length. One insider revealed a stark quote, William feels like he's being prepared for responsibility, but denied authority. That frustration is said to have been building for months, long before the late-night call that triggered the emergency meeting. What makes the situation more volatile is Camilla's direct influence over King Charles during moments of vulnerability. Sources allege that during periods of fatigue or illness, Camilla has become the king's primary gatekeeper, controlling access, shaping conversations, and filtering information. "She's the last voice he hears before decisions are made," said one palace insider. For William, that dynamic raises fears about unchecked influence during a critical phase of the king's reign. Importantly, this isn't being framed internally as malice, but as power drift. Camilla's defenders argue she's simply stepping up, while Charles's health demands it. But critics counter that temporary support is turning into permanent control. One former aide summed it up sharply: "Support is one thing, substitution is another." And that distinction is at the heart of the growing divide. William's late-night intervention now looks less like a sudden move and more like a delayed response. The emergency meeting, sources say, was his first formal attempt to reassert boundaries, to make it clear that the line of succession cannot be managed from the shadows. As one insider warned, if Camilla is acting like an unofficial queen regent, someone had to push back. And that pushback has now exposed a tension the palace can no longer fully hide, one that leads directly to the quiet influence of Catherine and the role she's been playing behind the scenes. Kate's hidden role, quiet influence from the shadows. While much of the world has focused on Prince William's bold emergency action, those inside the palace know Catherine, the Princess of Wales, was never far from it. Though she's remained largely out of the spotlight during recent royal tensions, sources confirm that Kate has been advising William behind closed doors, offering strategic counsel at key moments. One palace aide described her role clearly: "Kate isn't loud, but she's always in the room, even when you can't see her." According to insiders, Catherine strongly supported William's late-night decision to bypass protocol and initiate the emergency meeting. Her concern wasn't just for her husband, but for the long-term integrity of the monarchy their son George is set to inherit. Those close to her say she warned William that invisible hands were steering the crown, and if they didn't act now, decisions could be made that would sideline the entire Wales family. "She told him it's now or never," a senior aide revealed. One of Kate's greatest strengths is her access to a private intelligence circle, trusted family contacts, seasoned aides, and discreet government liaisons who keep her informed. This informal network gives her information few others receive, including real-time insights into Camilla's movements, Charles's condition, and what's being said behind closed doors. "Kate is quiet, but she's never uninformed," one royal official said. "She sees the full board when others only see their own piece." In recent months, Catherine has reportedly grown deeply frustrated by Camilla's increasing visibility. From appearing in more senior briefings to making public statements that traditionally came from the monarch or heir, Camilla's presence has disrupted royal balance. Catherine, who has followed royal protocol carefully for over a decade, reportedly views this power shift as destabilizing. She is said to believe that the monarchy must transition through the proper line, not behind closed doors. Those closest to the princess believe she has become the quiet architect behind William's more assertive stance. "He's bolder now," one insider shared. That confidence comes from her. Unlike Camilla, who operates through visibility and presence, Catherine influences through strategy and loyalty, trusted by William, respected by aides, and quietly gaining more influence than many realize. While she hasn't made headlines, her fingerprints are all over the recent chain of events. From whispering advice in late-night moments to helping William identify key allies within the palace, Kate is playing a long game. And if succession tensions continue to rise, it's likely that Catherine's invisible influence may become one of the most powerful forces behind the future of the monarchy. As insiders now say, Camilla may be visible, but Catherine is inevitable. And that inevitability may be shaping what comes next in the face of rising questions about succession, regency, and royal legitimacy. Succession turmoil. Is William preparing for a sooner-than-expected role? The events of the past few days have made one thing crystal clear inside the palace. Prince William is no longer preparing for the future. He's preparing for the present. According to highly placed sources, the heir has begun accelerated constitutional briefings, meetings typically reserved for a monarch in waiting much closer to the throne. These weren't scheduled months in advance. They were arranged within 48 hours of his late-night move. One senior royal insider put it bluntly, "It feels like the clock just sped up." William's emergency meeting wasn't a reaction. It was the first visible sign that the palace may be shifting into transition mode. In recent days, legal teams tied to the monarchy have reportedly been placed on standby, reviewing sections of the Regency Acts and other critical statutes that govern royal authority. This preparation isn't symbolic. It suggests the palace is seriously considering scenarios where Charles steps aside, either temporarily or entirely. Regency is no longer a hypothetical, one constitutional expert commented. It's on the table. Behind the scenes, William is said to be deeply resistant to a transition engineered by Camilla's camp. He fears that if the king were to become incapacitated or step back without formal declarations, decisions could be made without him holding full legal authority. That could allow Camilla, already more involved than expected, to shape the monarchy's direction in ways that bypass the heir. "He doesn't want a backdoor handover," said a former advisor. "He wants clarity and power delivered by process, not persuasion." This urgency is not unfounded. With King Charles III's health still clouded in secrecy, the monarchy is facing a fragile moment where a regency, or even abdication, could be triggered by the smallest shift. That possibility has led to what insiders are calling a quiet succession drill. A rapid review of who would hold what powers, how announcements would be managed, and which figures would take control in the event of an emergency. William is already at the center of those talks, and he wants control before it's handed to someone else. Several top aides have noticed a shift in William's daily routine as well. His calendar has cleared, briefings have increased, and a core circle of advisors now follows him closely. These are the same patterns that emerged during the Queen's final year, when transition planning was done privately, even as the public saw smiles and ceremony. "He's no longer the spare wheel," one insider said. "He's acting like a leader, preparing to take over, not one waiting for permission." As the palace remains tight-lipped, William's body language, schedule, and internal actions tell a different story. He's not waiting for the future. He's gearing up for it to arrive, sooner than anyone expected. And as the monarchy inches closer to a critical decision point, the only question left may be, will William take the reins peacefully, or be forced to fight for them? Inside the royal divide, tensions between William and Camilla break surface. For years, tensions between Prince William and Queen Camilla were quietly managed behind palace doors. But now, insiders say that fragile calm has shattered. The emergency meeting called by William was not just about Charles. It was, in part, a direct response to Camilla's growing control. One senior courtier described the mood bluntly. "The gloves are off." Sources close to the family say relations between William and Camilla are at a new low. William reportedly feels sidelined in key family decisions, despite being the direct heir. Meanwhile, Camilla has increasingly taken on strategic roles within the monarchy, some of which bypass William entirely. She has been present in briefings that traditionally involve only the monarch and the heir, prompting frustration from William's inner circle. The tension has reportedly boiled over in private, with several confrontations happening in recent months. These weren't public, and they weren't polite. One insider said, "It's no longer hidden. There have been sharp exchanges, and no one is pretending otherwise." While Charles is said to be aware of the divide, his fragile health has limited his ability to fully mediate. William sees Camilla's influence not as accidental, but as deliberate encroachment, and fears decisions about the future are being shaped without him. Those close to William believe his emergency move was a formal pushback, designed to reset the balance of power before it's too late. With the royal family walking a tightrope between tradition and transition, this internal power struggle has become impossible to ignore. And as one royal aide put it, "When the heir and the queen consort are this far apart, the whole system starts to feel unstable." Public deception? Why the palace's calm front is hiding the storm. While tensions rise behind the scenes, the palace's public image remains eerily calm, and that's exactly what has insiders worried. Following Prince William's emergency move, no official statement acknowledged his role or the high-stakes meeting that followed. Instead, the palace released a vague, carefully worded message about routine briefings, avoiding any mention of crisis or conflict. It was a masterclass in controlled silence, one royal correspondent remarked. The royal press office, known for guiding media narratives, has gone unusually quiet. Aides who typically provide background updates to trusted reporters have suddenly clamped down, refusing to confirm or deny William's involvement. This shift has sparked growing suspicion that the public is being shielded from a deeper constitutional struggle. The language is neutral, the photos are smiling, but inside it's chaos, said a former palace staffer. What's even more telling is the behavior of the royal media corps. Seasoned correspondents, normally quick to analyze royal activity, have acknowledged behind closed doors that something is off. One veteran journalist admitted, "We're being left in the dark, deliberately." Meanwhile, social media sleuths tracked multiple official cars entering Clarence House and Kensington Palace between 2 and 5 a.m. the night of the emergency, none of which were publicly explained. In royal history, silence often signals severity. The fact that such a serious move, one involving William, Camilla, and possibly the king's health, was downplayed so heavily suggests a desperate attempt to maintain public stability. But that curtain of calm may soon unravel. As one insider warned, they can't hold the front forever. The truth is starting to leak, and the public deserves to know who's really steering the ship. Media blackout. Why the British press isn't reporting the full story. Despite the scale of the royal emergency, the British press has gone almost completely silent, and it's raising serious questions. Major outlets like the BBC, The Times, and Daily Mail have either downplayed or entirely ignored Prince William's emergency meeting. Not a single front-page headline mentioned his late-night decision. Instead, coverage focused on lighter royal topics, photo ops, charity events, and pre-scheduled appearances. It's like they're pretending it didn't happen, one former royal correspondent noted. Sources now believe this silence may not be by accident. Legal pressure and non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, are reportedly being used to restrict what journalists can share. Multiple royal reporters have hinted, without naming names, that their palace contacts have gone cold. One veteran writer admitted, "We've been told to wait," and that says everything. In a media environment where royal news dominates, this blackout feels intentional. Behind the scenes, independent outlets and online commentators have stepped in, offering timelines, car sightings, and leaked whispers. Social media investigators have tracked unusual movements across Windsor and Clarence House, with cars arriving at strange hours and top aides vanishing from public schedules. These findings, though dismissed by mainstream editors, are starting to gain traction. "People can sense when they're not being told the full story," said one digital journalist. The core issue? Transparency. While the palace maintains a scripted image of stability, the media's refusal to investigate the obvious tension has created a growing divide between public perception and private reality. And as more cracks appear, it's clear the truth won't stay hidden for long. When the media goes quiet, the public starts listening elsewhere, warned one former palace insider, and this time, what's being left unsaid is louder than ever. What happens next? Will William take control or be cut out? With the monarchy at a crossroads, all eyes are now on Prince William, and the question is no longer if he will step up, but how soon. Multiple sources say that if King Charles's health declines any further, William could be named acting monarch under the Regency Acts as early as spring 2026. The legal process is complex, but the framework is already in place. One constitutional advisor revealed, "The machinery is ready. It just needs a trigger." But that trigger may not come easily. For William to officially take on royal powers, the king himself, or Parliament, must approve the move. And that's where things could turn into a power struggle. Queen Camilla is reportedly resisting any suggestion that Charles hand over control prematurely. Her team believes the king can still reign in a modified role, with Camilla supporting and guiding behind the scenes. William, however, wants clear authority, not shared influence. He refuses to be a placeholder while someone else calls the shots, an insider said. In the meantime, William is quietly building alliances, both within the family and the government. Trusted cousins, senior aides, and even former palace officials are said to be aligning with him, recognizing that a leadership vacuum is forming. He's also begun taking private briefings with legal advisors to map out constitutional limits and his next steps. This is no longer theoretical. It's tactical. The next 30 to 60 days will be critical. If the king's health holds, tensions may simmer quietly, but if it falters again, William will either take control or risk being sidelined by Camilla's camp. One royal staffer summed it up best. Either he steps forward or he's cut out entirely. And that choice may no longer be his to make. The crown now hangs in the balance, and the clock is ticking. With the emergency meeting confirmed and William's midnight decision shaking the palace, one thing is clear. Something serious is unfolding behind royal walls. Whether it's health, power, or hidden influence, this isn't business as usual. And in the days ahead, the world will be watching to see who really takes control.